Good evening, everybody. My name is Destiny Velasquez, and welcome to my first episode of my new podcast, WWE Content, where we talk about WWE drama and storylines leading up to PLEs for the WWE. So far, we have Saturday Night Main Event coming up next week on the 12th, and the day after, we have Evolution, an all women's PLE event representing women of the WWE wrestling on the same match card. Now, before we get into it, first off, I like to thank my family who supported me and pushed me to do this because they know I love wrestling so much and they know I love talking about it nonstop 24/7. So, thank you. Shout out to my sister who encouraged me to do this and actually bought me my first microphone to start my new podcast. Now, let's get into the storylines leading up to SummerSlam. Right now, we have John Cena versus Cody Rhodes for the undisputed WWE Championship. We have Tiffany Stratton versus Jade Cargill, but if Tiffany Stratton gets beaten by Trish Stratus, that would mean Trish Stratus and Jade Cargill will go at SummerSlam. With everything leading up to SummerSlam, it's just been a whole whirlwind of commotion. You got Karrion Kross and Sami Zayn fighting. You got Jey Uso fighting Penta and Sami Zayn's battles against Seth Rollins' crew, which is Seth Rollins, Paul Heyman, Braun Breaker, and Bronson Reed. Not to mention that Seth Rollins told Paul Heyman that he has a plan B. Where have we heard that before? Plan B is what Triple H said about the Authority 11 years ago when Seth Rollins betrayed the Shield and everything just went haywire from there. Now, speaking of SummerSlam, it is hosted in New Jersey where Liv Morgan's from. Unfortunately, she's not going to be there due to an injury that happened a few weeks ago. With that in mind, that left a hole in the Judgment Day where they needed a backup person to take her place. With that, Finn Balor decided to go with Roxanne Perez. Now, Roxanne and him have been talking for the past few weeks, and before that, Dominic Mysterio insisted that they should bring in new members. When Finn Balor said no, he talked to Roxanne. Next thing you know, she's fully in the Judgment Day. But she had to do it in order for Raquel Rodriguez to keep the tag team titles. Now, I have noticed that when it comes to the women's tag team titles or men's tag team titles, whenever one tag team player is injured, they either have to replace a tag team partner or have to vacate the titles altogether. That's what Bianca Belair did when Jade Cargill got injured. Naomi had to step in and take care of everything. Roxanne's doing the same thing for Raquel, but I feel like this is part of Finn's master plan. I mean, he did it last time when Rhea and Damian were both champions. He convinced Dominic to go to Liv Morgan. They became a couple, and everything just went haywire, which meant in SummerSlam of 2024, it was the implosion of the Judgment Day, unless that's what everyone calls it. Now, for SummerSlam 2025, I don't know whether or not it's going to be another implosion of the Judgment Day, but I do feel like either Finn and Dom are going to have a match somehow, and they're going to face each other for the Intercontinental Championship, or we're probably just going to see Dominic lose the IC Championship against AJ Styles. Since their match was canceled Night Champions, they're going to move it up to SummerSlam, and that is where Finn Balor is going to replace Dominic with AJ Styles. That means mixing up the numbers, and that would lead to another Judgment Day, which would be either Judgment Day 3.0 or Judgment Day 4.0. Either way, it's just all kinds of chaos. So, leading up to that, for Saturday Main Event, so far three matches are official. We have Goldberg versus Gunther for the World Heavyweight Championship. Then we got Randy Orton versus Drew McIntyre, just a normal pinfall submission match, along with LA Knight versus Seth Rollins. But I feel like for Seth Rollins, he's gonna have Plan B of a new member coming in for the crew. So far, rumors are being spread around that either Ethan Page is going to come in the group or somebody from NXT who's the most villainous villain out of all the people in NXT. For me, I don't know who will it be, but if it is Ethan Page, I mean, it makes sense. The guy is all about his ego. He doesn't care what people think about him. He just wants to be a champion. He wants to be in charge. Blah, 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 blah. That's Ethan Page for you. But so far, I have made predictions for the past few months leading up to SummerSlam. With Liv Morgan gone, I don't know what was the case, because she already had storylines planned for her versus Nikki Bella, her and Io Sky for the Women's World Championship. Sadly, that had to be scratched off due to her injury. Now, I'm not a hateful person, although I do not like her character sometimes when she's with the Judgment Day and Dominic Mysterio. I like her as a person, and I hope she does feel better in the leading months coming up to the next PLE. Could be Royal Rumble or could be in our Saturday main event. Either way, I hope she fully recovers. Now, so far for me, I'm not really a big Seth Rollins fan, but at the same time, I don't like what he's done so far after what happened between him, Roman Reigns, and CM Punk at WrestleMania, where he let Paul Heyman portray CM Punk, his best friend, and the OTC Roman Reigns, who is the tribal chief, and he's tribal chief for a reason, people. Let's get that straight. He's a tribal chief for a reason because his family gave him the responsibility to take care of the family in WWE. So far, he has done that, but he has missed a few months of Monday Night Raws, Friday Night SmackDowns. He missed Night Champions, where we could have seen him potentially fail Seth Rollins' cash in. Thankfully, John Cena managed to fail that one, but he's still a champion. CM Punk, however, is still going after Seth Rollins, but he still wants to be a champion. So I feel like we're going to see another Seth Rollins versus CM Punk match, and if this ends and goes south, I don't know what's the next story between CM Punk and Seth Rollins chapter of their rivalry. It's been going on for like the past maybe 13 or 14 years, and they're still at each other's throat. CM Punk wanted to be a champion. Seth Rollins ruined it. Now Seth Rollins is still Mr. Money in the Bank, so we're gonna see whether or not CM Punk's gonna fail his cash in when Gunther faces Goldberg at Saturday Main Event, or if something happens with SummerSlam, either Gunther or Goldberg faces somebody at SummerSlam, that would mean Seth Rollins is gonna cash in, but then either Roman Reigns or CM Punk is gonna make sure that's not gonna happen. Speaking of cash-ins, we have had numerous cash-ins the past few years about how both men and women have cashed in successfully. But for the men, their cash-ins have successfully rated by maybe 69-70%, while for the women, it has worked 100%. I feel like for the guys, they should do a triple threat matches, or they should do a one-on-one where the champions down and out. But sometimes for the guys, they always have to get interfere with everybody's matches. Like when Bobby Lashley and Drew McIntyre had their match at Elimination Chamber, and The Miz was Mr. Money in the Bank. This was during COVID era where Bobby Lashley knocked Drew McIntyre out cold, and that was The Miz's chance to get into the ring, cash in, and become a champion. But that was thanks to Bobby Lashley. Now, so far, I've seen a bunch of people interfere with everybody's matches, either cheating to win or just interfering just because they don't like the person, which is understandable. But in order to be a champion, in order to win your fight, you gotta win clean, or else we're just making sure everybody loses and no one becomes a champion. Like last week in Saudi Arabia, where the Wyatt Six was gonna face the Street Profits, everybody from the tag team division decides to go out. You got Los Garza, you got DIY, you got Morrissey Machine Guns, you got let's see, I kind of forgot. Let's see, and you got Fraxium, the new upcoming tag team from NXT. All 4 or 5 of those tag teams were outside ringside to make sure the Wyatt Six didn't win and the Street Profits retained. But then it ended in a whole big brawl out fight where nobody won, everybody was disqualified, and the Street Profits were still tag team champions. Now, I'm not mad at how it ended, I'm just mad at how they're representing the tag team division. We have been waiting for new tag teams forever. So far, I like more Machine Guns. I don't like DIY. I do like Fraxium because they're fast and they're crazy, and I love how they do crazy things off the ropes, which is legendary in my eyes. And the Street Profits are pretty cool too because of how Montez Ford does the big frog splash. I mean, I think he does it bigger than Dom Mysterio and the legend himself, Eddie Guerrero, but I don't think anybody could beat Eddie Guerrero's frog splash. It was a classic move of his time. So far, the tag team division on SmackDown has been going great. Meanwhile, you got tag team division on Raw, which is not so great. Although I am happy that Finn and JD are now 2-time World Tag Team Champions, we still need something new, something bold and fresh for the WWE. So far, the men for the tag team division are not doing too good. As for the women, not so good themselves. But at least at the Women's Evolution, we have a fatal 4-way tag team match. Raquel and Roxanne versus Charlotte Flair and Alexa Bliss. All we gotta do is wait for a tag team on Raw, a tag team on NXT, and our whole match card is filled for the Fatal 4-Way. Although I do like Roxanne and what she's doing in the Judgment Day because she kind of gives me like Liv Morgan vibes, but she gives me also that Rhea Ripley potential. Like she's hungry, she wants something big for herself in her career. I mean, she was the two-time NXT Women's Champion in NXT for I don't know how many months, and she did amazing. I might add. Now she's on the main roster with a tag team champion around her waist, but in order for her to keep it that way, she has to retain it and defend it against three other tag teams at Evolution. Although with Liv being gone, I don't mind seeing Dominic going after Roxanne because Dom is a ladies' man. He gets it from his Uncle Eddie. I mean, his Uncle Eddie was a ladies' man for I don't know how long. I mean, he dated China in the '90s, and then after China, he was just going after girl to girl to girl. So you might as well, for Dominic, let him go after Roxanne and see if history repeats itself where he goes to Roxanne, breaks up with Liv, and that leads to another breakup love triangle of Dominic's love life. Now, speaking of Dom Mysterio, he is now the IC champion, and he's been the IC champion for about, I think, 40, maybe 40 something days. So far, he's been doing pretty good. He has had, I think, about two or three title defenses, two of them against luchadors. One was against, no, it was against AJ Styles because they didn't fight Night Champions. But that's definitely going to happen at SummerSlam. Now, I do want Dom Mysterio to retain, but I wouldn't be mad if he lost because that will lead to a huge fight and rivalry between him and Finn Balor, just like how it was Damian and Finn's rivalry, where Finn made Damian lose the World Heavyweight Championship, and they went through, I think, several fights. One was at Bash in Berlin when him and Rhea were facing Dom and Liv, and then Finn was trying to beat Damian to make sure Dominic got the pin. That didn't happen, and so far Damian was 1-0. Then it went to Bad Blood, where it was Damian and Finn. Again, Damian won with beating three other guys from the Judgment Day. Thankfully, Dominic wasn't there because he was in the shark cage trying to defend Liv's honor, so that was kind of a crazy bust. But then the last match they had was on Monday Night Raw on Netflix, where it was a street fight. Damian versus Finn, and that match was just beyond crazy. And especially since the whole Judgment Day was out there trying to get Damian down and out, that did not happen because he managed to beat all four guys at the same time and managed to do the choke slam on Finn Balor twice, I might add, and one was through a table. So kudos to Damian Priest for doing that. Now, I am kind of a little upset that he went to SmackDown, although it had to happen. He did what he had to do on Monday Night Raw, facing the Judgment Day, helping out his Terror Twin sister, Rhea Ripley, to make sure that she was okay. But sometimes I do kind of feel bad that he's now on SmackDown, so he's not going to be able to do Terror Twins again with Rhea Ripley. And I do miss their tag team brother-sister relationship because it was just really cute of how they would protect each other no matter what the cost was. So for right now, I have made predictions about the Judgment Day bracket, basically about how it started off as 3 people, then it went to 4 people, then to 5, and then 6, and then they just kept rearranging team members. Now, so far in the Judgment Day, we have Finn and JD, who are now the new World Tag Team Champions, Raquel and Roxanne, who are the Women's Tag Team Champions, and of course, Dominic Mysterio, who is the Intercontinental Champion. So far, the only faction in the WWE that has all the gold is the Judgment Day. Everybody else is scrambling them for himself. As for the new bloodline, where Solo Sikoa betrayed Jacob Fatu, became the new United States champion, thanks to the help of Tama Tonga and Tala Tonga, they are now in it to get after Jacob Fatu, and this might lead to another Bloodline Civil War game or something to do with another War Games at Survivor Series where it's Jacob Fatu and his crew versus Solo Sikoa and his new bloodline. So far, Solo Sikoa has been making a new bloodline for I don't know how many months because it was originally him, Roman, and Jimmy. And then Jimmy left, and it was just Roman and Solo. And then Solo betrayed Roman, and he said he was the new tribal chief, when in reality he wasn't because he didn't earn the Ula Fala. You have to earn it by getting it from your ancestors before you. Roman Reigns did that with his uncle and his father. And he was the the tribal chief in quotation marks, the tribal chief for about at least I think a couple of months, where he invited Jacob Fatu, Tama Tonga, and Tama Loa, and these guys were unstoppable beasts. Where Jacob Fatu, the Samoan werewolf, he kind of scared me a little bit, but slowly throughout time he did start to grow on me a little bit, so I was okay with him. When he won at WrestleMania 41 against LA Knight for the United States Championship, I was over the moon excited because I'm like, this guy, he's going to make it big in the business. And he was. For a while, he was. But then Solo Sikoa got paranoid. He got power hungry. He added a new member, which was JC Mateo. And now he's got Talatonga and Tamatonga back in the WWE. And he is now facing Jacob Fatu again. I feel like for Jacob Fatu and Solo Sikoa, their rivalry is far from over, but I am excited to see what happens leading up to SummerSlam, or maybe leading up to the next PLE after SummerSlam. Could be Clash in Paris, could be at Survivor Series, could be at Crown Jewel, or who knows, maybe at the Royal Rumble. But we'll see what happens in the end. As for the Women's Evolution PLE, I am really excited about that because this is actually my first time watching Evolution, an all-girls PLE event for the WWE. I know they did one a few years ago, but I kind of missed it because at that time I wasn't a wrestling fan. I was a huge wrestling fan when I was a kid. I had the John Cena shirt with the hat and the armbands, but then over time I kind of grew out of that, and John Cena wasn't wrestling anymore, so I thought, what was the point? And then what happened with the Shield and Seth Rollins betraying the Shield, that was just like a dark time for me, so I stopped watching it. But then at WrestleMania 39, I watched Rhea Ripley, Dom Mysterio, Finn Balor. At that time, I started liking the bad guys more than the good guys because the bad guys were so cool with their look and the way they dressed, the way they acted towards the audience. To me, that was just pretty awesome. It was kind of like the Attitude Era, but now in modern times, at the time when it was 2023. So far for the Evolution, we have Rhea versus Io, Roxanne and Raquel versus Charlotte Flair and Alexa Bliss, and also two other teams we will find out later in the future. Then we have the Women's Battle Royale, and whoever wins that will get to face a champion at Clash in Paris. Not to mention that we have Jade Cargill versus Naomi, a WrestleMania rematch, and then we have Trish Stratus versus Tiffany Stratton for the WWE Women's Championship. Now, like I said before, if Trish Stratus wins, she will face Jade Cargill at SummerSlam. But if Tiffany retains, she will face Jade Cargill at SummerSlam. Either way, whether it's Tiffany Stratton or Trish Stratus, Jade Cargill is fighting one of those two girls and will maybe become the new WWE Women's Champion. But if Naomi cashes in at SummerSlam, that would mean Naomi will be the new Women's Champion. You know what's funny? Back then, I loved Naomi. I loved her spirit. I loved the way she was the good guy, and she would do Feel the Glow, and she would dance with the glow-in-the-dark outfits and her hair, and the way she would, throw glow wristbands at everybody. To me, that was pretty cool. Then when she returned at Royal Rumble, I was ecstatic. I was so excited to see her back into the ring with her old friends and find the newcomers to the WWE from NXT and SmackDown. The way she came back and she was in tears when people said welcome back, I'm like, this is it. This is her and her new point of her career, starting off fresh but still the same character. But when she attacked Jade Cargill before War Games, I was like, oh my god. For starters, I thought it was Liv and Raquel who did it because they always attack people for certain amount of reasons. I don't know why they would attack Jade Cargill. At the time, I don't know why they attacked Jade Cargill. And leading up to months and months of frustration, people knowing what happened, people were looking at old videos of what was going on, people were looking at Instagram accounts and Twitter accounts to see who really attacked her. The whole time, I thought it was Liv and Raquel. But after what happened at War Games and after what happened when Bianca and Naomi lost the tag team titles against Liv and Raquel, and when Naomi finally said that she attacked Jade, my heart sank. I'm like, why? Why did you do this? But at the same time, I kind of got her point of view because Jade Cargill was new to the WWE, and Naomi has been a veteran for the past, I don't know how many years. And I can see why she was jealous of Jade when her and Bianca had a really tight friendship. So when she attacked Jade Cargill to become the tag team champion with Bianca, she was trying to do it to protect herself and protect Bianca. But as soon as Jade Cargill came back, it was done. When I saw her come back at Elimination Chamber, I was like, oh my gosh, she's gonna attack Liv, she's gonna attack Liv, she's gonna attack Liv. The moment she attacked Naomi, I'm like, no, she attacked Jay. What the heck is going on? I was completely distraught when I saw that. And Bianca crying and screaming, and she was banging on the in her pod like, "Let me go! I gotta make sure she's okay. I gotta make sure she's okay." And when Liv literally went to Bianca's pod and said, "I told you it wasn't me. I told you should check your facts." I'm like, yeah, maybe I should have thought about this before I blamed Liv and Raquel, because now I think, because back then I thought, now that I think about it, Liv and Raquel, when they attack people, they post on social media, they post on WWE TV, they do everything they can to make sure that they did it, and they want people to know that they did it. When Jade Cargill got attacked, there was no post of anything whatsoever about Liv and Raquel attacking her. So I'm like, yeah, maybe I should have checked my facts first before I fully blamed Liv and Raquel for attacking Jade Cargill. When it came to Naomi being a bad guy again, I'm like, oh my god. And to proceed with caution tape around her and her being the villainous villain out of all the women in WWE, I'm like, I kind of like your style, okay? I mean, like, I like you when you're a good guy, but as a bad guy, you are a freaking beast. She's kind of like her husband Jimmy Uso when he was a bad guy with a bloodline, but now Jimmy's the good guy, Naomi's the bad guy. So it's like a whole turn the table situation on them, which is pretty awesome in my opinion. Well, so far that's all I have for today. Thank you for listening, and I think maybe next Tuesday or Saturday I will be posting a new episode which would be the recap of either Monday Night Raw, Friday Night SmackDown, or both. Thank you for listening, and I hope to see you next time on WWE Content.